Charlie Adelson is accused of hiring hitmen and conspiring to kill FSU law professor Dan Markel. Prosecutors allege that Adelson hired the hitmen, and that would be Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbenois, who was in on the process there, because there was this big custody battle between between the sister of Charlie, her name is Wendi, and we're going to learn more about her if you don't remember her from last time, and the victim, Dan Markel. So the trigger man, Mr. Garcia, his co-defendant, Ms. Magbenois, both already tried, convicted. Charlie Adelson's trial is now scheduled to begin next week with opening statements. It's going to be very interesting to see this play out yet again. Earlier, we were showing you an interview that our own Anjanette Levy did with the mother of the victim. This is Ruth Markel. Let's listen now to more of what she had to say, especially on how she feels about this case finally going to trial.
Oh, it's so hard. And it's not the first trial. And this is why, one of the reasons I wrote the book, because the book is called The Unveiling, but it's to lift the veil on what a family is going through in trial life. And, there's first meeting with law enforcement, there's autopsies, medical examiner reports, then there's these hearings and there's trials and there's appeals. Everybody, that forgets, it's like when you watch TV and unfortunately, when you see the family, you see the parents of a victim, a young person, they meet with law enforcement, and then they're in court, and you never see them again. And this is why it's so important to really talk, and I appreciate your interest in the case, because the family is going through a roller coaster. This last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, there's a new judge on this case. There were a lot of motions. I mean, this is not like there's no easy, ride here. And lots and lots of motions just happened. Some of them actually turned out favorably for the prosecution, which was that most of the Dolce Vita tapes were included. And also yesterday was a very big motion that passed on the wiretapping of the previous, stuff from from all of the earlier sting with Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson. So a lot of the wiretapping now is included. But we're like on this, I use the expression the roller coaster. We're up there until it comes down with some decisions, and it's tough. It's really tough. No, for sure, it's very sad. It's 9 years already, and so there's a bit of a perspective. Not to say that the pain is still there. The pain is very, very intense, and all of these trials just reactivate the pain. Same thing with victim impact statements and so forth. So I wrote the book also to give a voice to grief. And why I called it The Unveiling is because it happens to be a Jewish tradition that after the burial, a few months later, we put a tombstone on the gravesite. And for me personally, only when I saw the tombstone covering the gravesite, I went into a deep grief journey. And I really want to give a voice to grief because with all the mass shootings, the school shootings, we have problems in Canada. There's all kinds of loss going on and all these wars now that are happening. It's very important that we talk about this and people are losing children now all over the world. So that was my purpose. I would add allegedly, because I don't know for sure, and we're just about, the eve of his trial. So I can't really say about Charlie. There was, when Sigfredo Garcia, who was considered the shooter, was arrested in 2016, there was a probable cause affidavit, which named Donna Adelson and Charlie Adelson as unindicted co-conspirators. So that information has been out there since 2016. So now I have to say I have to leave it for what the trial will do. The trial starting next week. On October 23rd is jury selection. Sure. So I think it's really out of my channeling at this point to see, because we're actually finally getting some justice on this case.
So it's kind of a three-part justice for the family here, because there's already been a conviction of Mr. Garcia, already been a conviction of Ms. Meg Benoit. By the way, they were looking for the death penalty against Garcia, but he was given life without the possibility of parole. On the retrial for Meg Benoit, hung jury the first time, she got the same sentence. So Catherine Lizardo is here, Michael Brown here. So guys, this is going to be interesting because there are some players, some very interesting characters in this case. Not to forget about Wendi Adelson, who was the wife who wanted the custody issue resolved. She wanted to move to Florida, and when that request was denied, this was in 2013, they broke up, then this whole plot developed, if you believe the prosecution, Catherine. So, this is quite the soap opera.
It is, and for this family, the Markel's family, I could just imagine 9 years since this happened, and this is actually their fourth trial. Like you mentioned, the Triggerman had a trial, Magbanwa had 2 trials, and now this is the 4th trial they have to sit through. So but it doesn't seem like this is going to be the last trial, because there seems to be other co-conspirators that the prosecution might want to pursue. So that's why Adelson's trial coming up soon will be interesting as to what will be extracted from there and what he would testify to if he does testify.
Yeah, Michael, and on that point, as a prosecutor, you have to deal with the family throughout this process. How difficult is that when you have these repeated trials for the same horrible story? I got 30 seconds.
It's horrific. They're traumatized from the actual act and the murder itself, and then they have to relive it again. And even as a defense attorney, I've tried many murders. I'm very cognizant of the fact that the family's there. They're going through this pain. We all have a job to do, but you have to be respectful, obviously. It's very traumatic for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So this is going to begin next week. We will be all over this case yet again, as you suggest, Catherine. This is the 4th time. So I'm going to thank and excuse Catherine. I appreciate it. Always good to see you, Ms. Lizardo. Michael Brown as well. You guys go out, enjoy